Welcome to the yesHEis podcast, where we talk about sharing your faith with confidence so that you can play your part in helping the world know Jesus.
Welcome to the yesHEis podcast.
Talked about this. Welcome to the yesHEis podcast. So glad that you could join us today. My name is Sam,
Tim.
and this is my coffee. It's a flat white.
This is my
on
co-host,
almond.
Sam.
This is chaos.
And this is my podcast, and I'm Jesse.
Wow. Jeez.
Sorry, I didn't talk to you beforehand about this, but I feel like if there were reins to the podcast or a steering wheel, I feel like your hands are just clasped so hard on that thing.
On the reins?
But
Yeah, here are the reins.
Yeah.
You can have them too.
I know, I've already taken them back from you, as
force.
should be obvious by
It's
this
like,
intro.
yeah, it's like a Wild West where you've like hopped into the front seat of the carriage and you've like thrusted me off, and I'm just like, I'm rolling on the brush on the side.
That's right.
And then
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be robbed and
I just wanted to give the people some drama.
yeah, well,
Like just a bit of, hopefully this will make it into a reel that will just go viral on social media because of how much kind of tension there is
Yeah.
and how much
So
people are just
good.
like,
we should
will
write
share it. Look at these guys. Look at this guy who just like completely like took over a podcast intro. It's going to go viral,
we
man.
could write a song about it.
We could write a song about it. Forrest Frank. No.
Would you like to continue?
No, that's all I've
leading
got.
this? Okay, all right. I'll just quickly just take the reins
Yeah,
back.
you just take the
Thank
reins back.
All right.
What are we talking about today? Let's get into it.
Share a quick story. We've talked about one person in our yesHEis community before. Her name's Fatima.
She's a
Shout out.
legend.
She's a weapon.
Yeah.
And she lives in the US, and she loves sharing Jesus, and she's good at it, and she's gone on a great journey of learning how to do that. And I interviewed her a little while ago as she's one of our close friends on Instagram. And
Shout out to close friends on Instagram. If
Yes.
you're not part of that community, how do they join close friends, Sam?
It's not something that you kind of can join. It's something we extend an invitation for. And the way
Ooh.
that we measure that is that if you're just basically leaning into the heart of yesHEis, wanting to share Jesus, and
You
you
get
want
like
to
a
grow at it,
little tap on the shoulder.
and you get this little magical tap on the shoulder by yours truly, and then you get to join an exclusive club
Yes.
of
Close friends.
Close friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of weird, but anyway. So I'm gonna look at this camera. Fatima shared with me in this interview that this story. I asked her to share her. I can't remember if I asked her to share a win evangelism story or a fail evangelism story, but it turns out they were both the same thing, right? So she was sharing Jesus with this friend of hers at college, and they were out to dinner with a few friends, and she felt a prompt from the Holy Spirit to say, "Hey, what do you believe?" And so she said it. She asked him, and he said, "I don't really know what I believe, and I'm open." And then she took that opportunity to sort of, in her words, to force the gospel on him. And she's been on a journey since then of learning how to share Jesus in a way that really connects with people. But she walked away from that, and he started to distance himself from her over time. Not just like in that moment, he walked back into the bushes, but over time they lost connection, and she felt it was because of the way she shared in that moment. But it turns out a few years later he would reach out and he would say, "Hey, I've been reading my Bible, and I've been going to church, and I've been asking all these questions." And she had originally written that story off as, "This is a fail story. What can I learn from that?" It turned out to be a huge win, which is awesome. But it
Life
got me.
gave her some lemons.
Yes.
But
she made a lemon concoction.
maybe my Jesus, he'd be making lemonade.
Perhaps.
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 Oh, perhaps.
But it got me thinking about that portion of the story where it was a fail.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, didn't go according to plan.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this before on the podcast, is when sharing Jesus doesn't go according to plan. But it's something that I think we need to revisit constantly, because it's easier to get discouraged when you're sharing your faith. But we just need to talk about it more, because I think people need to be encouraged.
I feel like there's a fundamental question here. It's like, I've been there with my story has gone on Instagram as well, of like, tried to pray for a neighbor. He was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like, it's whether you're afraid of that moment happening or you've had a moment like that happen, the fundamental question is like, are you going to share your faith again?
Yes.
And it's literally a yes, no when you really think about it. It's like, am I going to be the kind of person who gets back on the horse or am I not going to do that ever again because it was the worst experience of my life? And it really comes down to your values.
Yeah.
And, and it's our response to that moment that determines our next steps. And so I guess we're here just being like, it's going to be okay. Like,
it's all right.
Just chill out. It's going to be
okay. But I reckon there's three questions that come to mind. If you,
this is the thing, because it's like, well, how do you? It's not like, oh, it'll be all right. I'll just move forward and see what happens. It's like, well, we can actually be intentional about reviewing what happened and being like, well, how can I learn from that?
Yeah.
So that
100%. So that we can reflect and sort of take that next step. Because when we talk about sowing seeds of faith, then the success of that seed in their heart is like, for the most part, dependent on the condition of the soil of their heart. We read about that in, what is it? Is it Matthew 13, about the parable of the sower? But it doesn't negate the role that the sower has in the process. And I think there are some fine-tuning adjustments that we can make to the way in which we sow to be able to ensure that the seed has the best chance of actually reaching the soil of their heart to have even a chance.
Yeah.
And so 3 questions that come to mind.
Have you ever wanted to share your faith but felt unsure of what to say? Maybe you've hesitated, wondering if you'll have the right words or if the conversation will be awkward. Well, that's where the yesHEis app comes in. The yesHEis app helps you share your faith with confidence. It's packed with practical tools and resources to make sharing Jesus a natural part of everyday life. When you step out and share your faith, you can even log your actions and see them light up a world map alongside others sharing their faith around the world. So if you're looking for a simple way to step out and make a difference, download the yesHEis app today. It's free, it's simple, and it will encourage you to share Jesus with confidence. And now, back to the show.
3 questions that come to mind. What can I learn from last time? What can I expect for next time? And what do I do now? Those are the 3 questions.
That's great.
So starting with number 1, what can I learn from last time? There's some questions of reflection that I think are worth asking. If you've shared Jesus before, even if it was a success, or it didn't quite go according to plan, but overall you would say it went well. There's always that 1% where we can improve and do a little bit better, I think, to be able to sow those seeds. And so do you want to chat us through that first question?
Yeah. Well, these are great questions to just reflect on those moments. First one is, where did I sense God's presence or guidance during the conversation? And I feel like this can be a number of things, probably in general, like positive or negative things, not from God, but positive or negative responses from things. Like you might have felt like a thought drop into your mind and you might have gone with it. And so you can evaluate. It's like, all right, no, I thought like God was telling me this, and then I went with it. And then how did they respond? And again, that's how you work out, was God leading me or was he not? Because if you don't actually respond to that prompting, you're never going to find out. And God's not there being like, oh, it's a test, and you failed, but we are learning and we are growing. And so that's the way to grow and learn. You're not going to nail it every time, but you need to follow it if you feel his prompting. And so
learning to hear God's voice God's always speaking. Really the question is are we listening and are we learning to hear his voice? And really, if we can just look back and think, all right, and reflect, where was he speaking? That might give us a better indication of how we can better hear his voice in future conversations.
Yeah. The interesting just side point to this is that I feel like I should have thought of maybe some examples here, but so many times where I've felt like, oh, wow, that was actually a really great experience and I did feel God leading. To me, it really came out of left field and it maybe was a pretty unexpected moment or eventuality that happened. And that's almost something I go with now.
Yeah.
That I'll come in with preconceived ideas like we all do. Oh, God's going to do this. Or I feel like this person is in this situation. And so I need to say this or whatever. But God knows that person. And so if he's prompting, sometimes what he knows they need is not what we think they need.
Yes. Yeah, true.
So,
another one is, how did I respond to their questions, concerns, or reactions? I think sometimes I know for myself in the past, I have gotten defensive sometimes when people ask questions about, Jesus or faith or that sort of thing. Or maybe when they react strongly, then I meet them at that level, but that's not helpful.
Yeah.
And my defensiveness isn't helpful either. And so learning to be able to look back and think, all right, like my responses to their questions and their concerns and their reactions and that sort of thing, was that helpful in moving the conversation towards the heart of Jesus? Or is there something I need to adjust in myself because in that conversation, it wasn't exactly heading in that direction?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The next one was, did I communicate Jesus in a way that was relatable and meaningful to them?
Yeah, because we can have the way that we relate to Jesus or even Christianese and all these things.
Yes.
But it's so important to just be empathetic and be like, okay, how is this person hearing what I'm saying?
100%. Because the gospel is universal. Like it applies to all people, but I think all people are also on a different journey. And I think the different parts of the gospel will resonate with people in different ways.
Yeah.
Like to the person seeking answers, Jesus is the truth. And for the person who's seeking healing, Jesus is the great physician.
Yeah.
And so in the person living in darkness, Jesus is the light.
Yeah.
And I think like when we can ascertain where they're at, we can connect the gospel to where they are in a much more meaningful way.
That's where this last one comes in. Like, was I actively listening to understand? Like, we're not going to understand what their needs are. Like, do they need healing? Do they need light? Do they need love? If we're not listening to them and we're just focused on what we want to say, then we're not going to find those things out.
It's easy to be guilty of that, I reckon.
Yeah. So just quick flyover of that, reflection questions. Where did I sense God's presence or guidance? How did you respond? Did I communicate Jesus in a way that was relatable? And was I actively listening, seeking to understand?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's good way to reflect on what happened last time. Hey guys, just wanted to jump in here in the middle of this episode to remind you that if you're enjoying this episode, then you need to like and subscribe. I know it's going to bless you, but also rate and review it, because I know that when we do that, it really helps. At least that's what my producer tells us. So make sure you do that. Back to the episode. So that's the first question. What can I learn from last time? The second question is, what can I expect for next time? And I think your expectations for sharing Jesus, your expectations for anything will frame how you feel about the outcome. Because if there is a gap between what happens and what you expect, then that gap can often be filled with disappointment. And disappointment can lead to us taking our foot off the gas in terms of sharing Jesus with other people. And so if you look at Jesus on the cross, for example, if your expectation is that, for the disciples looking at what Jesus, his life, if their expectation was that he would be, the military leader that they were expecting and that he would lead them into a new kingdom, and then next minute he's dead on the cross. Like, if you were to look at it,
zoom into that
particular moment, you would say that moment was a fail.
Yep.
But if you take a second to look at the big picture, then you would, if you give it 3 days, what they would have said is the greatest failure, give it 3 days and it becomes the greatest victory of all time. Yeah. And so
that's deep.
The time, awesome. Time is literally the difference there. And not just, hours not just years, but like this was just days, like this happened. Yeah. And so I guess our expectations can frame how we feel about certain outcomes. And then the third thing is, what do I do now? What do I do now, Tim?
Keep going.
Keep sharing Jesus.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Get back on the horse.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's great. I think like when it comes to sharing Jesus, then if we decide that I'm not going to take that step of faith and be confident and share my faith with people in my world, whether it's friends or families, if we decide to pull back on that, then ultimately we are selling them short of the potential for a life living in relationship with Jesus. And we can have a part to play in helping them know Jesus. And so really the big thing, if you've shared Jesus before and it didn't go according to plan, then the big thing is really just go again. What can I improve on? What can I sharpen up? How can I adjust my expectations? And where can I go again? How can I make this happen again?
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
That's the real takeaway from today.
Yeah.
Which camera are you looking at?
I don't know.
Well, let's look at this one. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today for the yesHEis podcast. And I'm hoping that encouraged you today. And be blessed. Have a great week.
See you next week.
See you on the flip side.